All right, folks, it's Larry, Packmaster Dog Training. This is episode 11 of Dog Talk. Let's talk about a couple of cases that kicked my ass pretty good. The reason I like to talk about some of the difficult cases that may be a little different than what we're used to seeing too is, excuse me, got an itchy nose, is hopefully someone who's struggling with something may get an idea. It doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be the same exact situation, but sometimes it'll just trigger something that someone comes up with that'll help them something with a case they're struggling with. Okay, so first dog, little tiny dog, really little dog. It was a pain in the ass. It was kicking my ass. It was here for a 2-week board and train. It had absolutely no interest in anything. It never once made eye contact with me at all for the first, I don't remember, it was a week or almost the first 2 weeks. I don't even remember. Very difficult to train, fought everything. There was no food motivation, no toy motivation, no motivation by praise, had no interest, just wanted to be in the house, in its crate, around the family, doing nothing. It was kicking my ass. I tried everything that I know of, nothing was working. So then you got to dig deep down inside and come up with something, all right? So if the dog has no interest in nothing and you can't do anything, even with a bigger dog, at least you could use some kind of aversive, whether it's a little leash pop, a little tap on the dog, something to get the dog's attention and make it look at you. With a dog this small, it was really difficult, really difficult. So I had to think about it, okay? The only thing that this dog did that was normal to a dog was pee and poop. That was it. So I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. When I would normally take the dog out, I'd walk it over to the grass across my driveway like I do with all dogs, and the dog would just be pulling and bucking to get to the grass, okay? Fighting me to get to the grass. Again, no matter what I did, there was no eye contact, no attention. So now what I started doing was I made the dog wait a little longer than I normally would. So I knew the dog had to go to the bathroom. There was no doubt about it. I took the dog over to the grass, edge of the concrete, and the dog starts doing the normal thing, pulling, bucking, fighting. I just wouldn't let it. I pulled it back. It took off, I pulled it back, it tried to take off, we went through this for a while, till finally the dog just stood there, and it waited, and stared at the grass. I didn't say nothing, I didn't do nothing. Then the dog sat down, frustrated and defeated. Again, I didn't do nothing, I didn't say nothing. Then after a while, it was a long while, the dog looked up at me. The second the dog looked up at me, I said yes, and released the dog. Free dog. Made a big deal about it. The dog went to the bathroom, was happy. We were playing around, having a good time. That was good. So that's the first eye contact I ever received from the dog. It was at least a week, if not longer. I don't remember exactly. Okay? From that point on, at that time, the next couple of days, the training was basically going to the bathroom. So the dog got in the routine of when we went to the bathroom, the dog would sit down, it would look up at me, I would mark it and give the release command, okay? Then I was actually able to start training with the dog. Now the dog started paying attention and training like a normal dog. Because up until this point, it was like training a freaking cat. It really was, all right? So again, something completely different with this dog. It kicked my ass, and the first thing I had to teach this dog was the release command. That was the reward. That's what this dog was into at that time. That's what made a difference in this dog. So I had to do it pretty much backwards than you would with a lot of dogs, but it worked. From there, I was able to start working with the dog like a normal dog. Now, I lost a whole week or week and a half, whatever it was, just trying to get the dog to be a dog. So at that point, I had to call the owners and tell them I need the dog for another week. It's nowhere near where it needs to be. I don't charge for that, because I need the dog. The job's not done. So if I can't get the job done in the allotted time, I don't charge somebody, And so it helped a great deal. I need to get down and see that dog soon, actually. It's been a while, all right? So again, something different, maybe it'll help. Let's talk about another dog. I've made some videos and I talked about it. By far the worst board and train I ever did in my life. Not even close. Made my life a freaking hell. Had a young German Shepherd. Came here, it was pretty screwed up. Had a lot of instability, a lot of anxiety. It didn't look healthy. There was a lot of issues going on here, okay? The first day, as soon as the dog got here, I crated the dog in my garage. That's what I do normally before I bring him in the house. And when I came out the first time to let the dog out of the crate, when I went up to the crate and I went to open it, the dog peed all over the place. Okay, not unusual. It happens, right? Next time, peed all over the place. I said, all right. So I've fixed this before, and the way I fix this is, and I started with this dog, when I go to the crate, I don't walk directly to the crate. I have some very high value treats in my hand. I let the dog see and smell, hopefully from a distance. I put it down in a good view of the dog, away from the crate, so where the dog is focused on it. And then I very nonchalantly open the crate, let the dog go out, and while it's eating the food off the ground, I slip the leash on and we go. And it works almost all the time. And I know it's worked for a ton of people that I've given that to. And I did it with this dog, and guess what? It worked. I was like, okay, thank God. That worked great. We did our thing, whatever. I put the dog in the crate. Next time I go out, I do it again. It worked again. Okay, we're done with that. Yeah, it didn't work for long. Now what this dog started doing, and I've documented this all, guys, so I'm sorry it's redundant, but a lot of people haven't seen this stuff, I guess. So now what the dog started doing, as soon as the dog saw me, no matter how far away I was, it peed everywhere. And I mean the floodgates open. Not just a little bit out of excitement, you know. I mean the dog was extremely nervous and weak and hunched back and just peeing everywhere. And what do? Do you correct that? No, you can't. You can't. It'll just get worse. You have to ignore it. And I mean pee everywhere. As soon as the dog sees me, now what do? After a while, now I have to put the dog's crate right next to one of the big garage doors because I spent all day, every day, washing the crate out. I could never bring it in the house. It was still in the garage, and every time it see me, it would pee everywhere. I mean, I was dumbfounded. The funny thing is, the dog trained great. During training, the dog was awesome. It was a little superstar. Did really great. I did all the normal training, all the normal obedience, all the normal leash work. I did all the normal e-collar work that I do. The dog took to the e-collar fantastically, like most do, but this dog really excelled. You know, it was doing awesome. But I was still peeing, still cleaning a completely covered in pee crate all day long. I mean, it was actually getting worse. And man, I called the owner. I told him, this is driving me fucking nuts, man. I was really frustrated, you know. And the owner said, the owner came from far away. He said, do you need me to come pick up the dog? I said, no, I'm just really frustrated. I need you to know where we stand with this dog. It's really fucked up. It's really fucked up bad. And I struggled. I did everything I possibly can. I didn't know what else to do anymore. And when a dog pees like that, as soon as it sees you, what do? So again, I had to really dig and think outside the box. So what I did this time was, when we were done training, I left the e-collar on the dog. I put the dog in the crate, and I left it in there for a good amount of time, okay? I let the dog eat. I let the dog drink plenty of water. So I left it in there long enough to where I knew the dog would have to go to the bathroom. It would have a full bladder. Now what I did was, from inside my home, with the e-collar on the dog, remote in my hand, inside my home, the dog can't see me. I have the e-collar on the dog's working level, very low level, single digits like most dogs work on. And from inside the home, I started tapping the e-collar. Tap. Tap. Then I'd wait a little longer. Tap. A lot of time in between reps, sometimes a little quicker, but I'm tapping the e-collar, okay? Now, mind you, this dog responds very well to the e-collar, extremely well. When I opened the door, the dog didn't pee. It was standing up, looking at me with its ears up, no hunchback, and instead of looking weak and insecure and scared, it was looking like, what am I supposed to do? Because, see, at this point, the dog was already trained and very literal to the e-collar. It wasn't a corrective thing. It wasn't a punitive thing. The dog understood the language of the e-collar. So what the dog knew up until this point, when it feels the e-collar, I'm usually going to request something behind that, and something good's going to happen for the dog. Food, toys, praise. That's what the dog knows. Okay? So when I came outside and a tap, the dog's looking ready to go. And what I did was I continued to tap as I'm walking through the garage towards the back of my garage where there's a regular door, not a big garage or a regular door. I opened the door, so it's open. The crate was fairly close to the door, and I'm still tapping here and there, tap, and the dog's just looking. And I walked like I was walking past the crate again. So now picture this, I'm walking in from the outside, the crate is on my right, and as I'm walking past, I just flick open the latches on the door, and I keep walking, and then I turn around, and now I'm walking towards the door to go outside with the crate on my left, and now I just pull the door open without stopping, the dog comes out and runs outside. Never peed, never peed, never peed again. That was it. That was it. I fixed it. At the time, I feel like it's the best dog training I ever did in my life because it was so absolutely insane, made no sense what I did, but it worked. It absolutely worked. That's what got that dog thinking. And the whole thing was, if I utilized the e-collar like a lot of people still do, where they're forcing the dog into positions and they're just using it to correct bad behaviors right from the start, that would never work. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But because the e-collar is taught as a neutral device to communicate something to the dog, and then something good usually follows, it perked this dog up and had him waiting. Like, okay, what? What do you want me to do? What do I need to do to get what I want? And it was incredible. I was so happy. It was honestly, I don't think I've ever been happier training a dog before because I was miserable. I hated having this dog here. It was an absolute hell for the whole, whatever it was, 1 or 2 weeks where he was still doing this. So once we went through that situation, man, he was done. He was done. Now, following up, there was no more e-collar. I didn't have to do that anymore. What I would do is when I would come out to the garage, I'd walk to the back door, open it, and I'd walk back past the crate, pop the latches, open the door, and go. He was fine. That's what fixed it. That's what it took. So again, guys, it took something completely different, outside of the box, something that shouldn't work, but it worked. And so if you're struggling with something, again, guys, don't keep doing the same thing over and over thinking it's going to work eventually. Don't keep doing what everyone else is doing because that may work for them in that particular case, but there's going to be dogs every now and then that you run across that really kick your ass. It's going to happen, guys. It's going to happen. There's some difficult dogs out there. And when we think about difficult dogs, we usually think about the big, scary, aggressive beasts. No, that's usually not the really difficult dogs. The ones that are usually really difficult are where there's not much out there that, you know, that we can go by. There's not a lot of go-bys because their dogs are just so fucked up. They give you something that you never see before. So I hope this helps someone who's struggling with a dog somewhere. Okay, come up with some crazy shit. You just never know what's going to work, okay? Because when a dog sees something for the first time, piques their curiosity pretty good and makes them think, changes that whole mindset again. It's all about changing that mindset, folks, all right? Peace.